Okay, in the last part, I was assembling the front cover of the gearbox. So that's it done. Kickstart mechanism all in place. Shimming was done. I did say I was going to put some thread lock on the clutch fulcrum. Now I decided to undo all that, and the result was it kind of seized, must have reacted or something like that. But it took some removing, a couple of hours. So probably I'd advise against that. You know, it's being held in here by the clutch operating arm, so it was just some advice that was online. So I've elected not to use thread lock on the clutch nut here, or the fulcrum, which is underneath the clutch nut. But otherwise, that's the kickstart return spring in the second from the right position. It's returning nice. So that clutch kickstart assembly on the front cover is good to go. So this afternoon what we did was finally identified what was going on with this thrust washer. So there was a peg. These are early types. So there was in fact a peg, which kind of looked like it was sort of sheared off, but it turns out that there was some surface hardening here. So we sort of tapped into it a little bit, and then used a specific bit to kind of sort of bite onto the peg and extracted it. So that revealed a nice drilled or tapped hole into the axle. So what we've got now is we used a 1/8. It's a 1/8 pin or peg. So we used a 1/8 roll pin, tapped it in there, cut it to size, and then used a square file, to file a notch into the thrust washer, which is the original Sturmey Archer thrust washer would have had 4 notches. One's enough, and the thrust washer locates onto the axle like this. I'm just going to give a view here so you can see that it just slots in there. So the thrust washer is loose, but it rotates with the axle like this. So we're now good to go. We can assemble the gearbox, and just to point out that the thrust washer, these oil grooves face inward towards the sleeve gear. So just mentioning some parts here. So the part number for the main axle is E1V32, and again there's various lengths depending on what issue it was, AGS, Norton, matchless. Not going to go into that because it's a minefield of measuring up various sizes, but this was an E1V32. Then all the other parts that locate onto the main shaft is just referring to the parts book here. So again, it's kind of an E1V32, 32B, 32D, depends on the issue. The main gear wheel with a bronze bush is an LS401. So that's the one that's inside the gearbox already. So that's the LS401. Just going to, yeah, there it is there, which obviously we put inside the main bearing the other day. With the bushing is let's have a look here. Main, oh, I lost my place. Gears and shafts. Yeah, main axle, main gear with bronze bush LS408, and that's the bronze bush that we had custom made. Thrust washer E1V27, and then there's the I'm just going to get the particular sizes for this one. So main axle. So the sleeve gear is a 26 tooth. Then there's the sliding pinion, which is a 23 tooth, which will be specific to one of the bikes, but the sliding pinion is an E1V6. That's this one. And it also has the bronze bush fitted. So this is the pinion here, and the bronze bush fitted. So that's E1V14 and this is E1V7B. Then it's the main axle pinion, which is a 17 tooth down to a 13 tooth. So that can all be put onto the main axle. Just make sure I've recorded all the parts there. So the gear changing mechanism is E1V 18. Gear operating parts. That's the striker fork, which is here. The striker fork shaft we'll put in a second. So this is the main axle ready to now go into the gearbox. So we're just going to use we're going to lubricate. So I'm going to just set up some blocks here to set the gearbox up, like so. It'll obviously be difficult to hold the camera here and show that, but I'm just going to get some oil. So the gearbox oil, which was recommended to me by Performance Classics, is an ATW90 classic gear oil, but it's got to be yellow metal friendly. So this is a non-EP gearbox oil. Otherwise, with the EP rating, it'll slowly eat into any bronze components, which we know that there is. So I've just got like a small syringe here, in the absence of being able to find a brush, and we're just going to coat everything up so that it all slides nicely into place. So first, going to make sure that that thrust washer is located on its peg. I'm going to slide that in. I'm going to put a little bit of that gearbox oil into the sleeve gear on the end and slide it in, just making sure that that thrust washer stays on its peg. So that's turned nicely now, like so. And then the sliding pinion. Should have put it the right way. So just a bit of some lubrication in there. That's on. And then the striker fork. So I'm just reaching inside the box here, and the striker fork will be engaging the cam, which is on this side. So I'm just going to slide it round so that the box would be in equivalent to first gear as a starting point. So next we're on to the sliding pinion gear. So some more. And the bronze bush slides down onto the main axle. Nice. And then finally, so this will be the first and second gear pinion going on. So I'll just give you a view of that. So that's the main axle in with the striker fork into the cam. So now we're on to the So the lay shaft, which is here, he says as he drops the striker fork. So just going to go through the part numbers for this. So the lay shaft is E1V38. So that's the shaft itself. So it's off to the side, it's just easier with the view. So the lay shaft is E1V32. Sorry, 38. And then there's the lay shaft pinion. So in this case, let's get the references here. So first gear, 71 tooth. That's the low gear, so that's E1V34B. Sorry, not 71 tooth. It's a 32 tooth with a bronze bush fitted, E1V35. Then there's the E1V11C, which is the lay shaft sliding pinion, which in this case is 29 tooth. And then there's the middle gear, which is the end gear, which will be third and fourth gear, or third and top, which is a 23 to 20, which is E1V10 and LS405. So I'm just going to get these into the box now. I'm actually just going to lubricate them outside the box because this is easier putting in as one piece. So I'm just applying some gearbox oil to all of these parts. I guess these go on one way. There we go. Slides on nice. Get some lubrication inside the pinion. That's it. So that's the free sliding pinion. Yeah. And then some more onto the sliding pinion, striker fork, and then onto the kickstart shaft. There's the low gear with the bronze bush. So all of this can be inserted as one, so that the complete lay shaft can be slotted into the box. So just a bit of sort of wiggling around just to try and locate the shaft. That's it. So it's slotted into the bearing on the far side. I'm just going to drop some more gearbox oil into where the kickstart mechanism will be, and just some more between the teeth. But we're going to fill it with oil obviously later, but this is just for assembly purposes. So just a quick look there before we seal everything up. That's how everything is arranged inside the box. And finally, just going to locate the striker fork shaft, which is E1V19, which is this piece. Two different type threads. There's a much coarser thread that goes into the casing itself, and then the finer thread, which has the striker fork lock nut, which pops out through the front of the front case, the front cover. So there's already still some grease or some oil left in that. So I'm just going to put some lubrication onto the shaft itself, and then drop that in there so it slides nice. And then it just does that with a flathead screwdriver. So just a little wiggle from side to side, and then we'll screw that into place. So that's it for this part. Next part we're going to be just cleaning up the surfaces here with some alcohol, and then we're going to be putting on some gasket maker, and then getting on the gasket washer with some more gasket sealant on top of that, and then the front case is going on, and that's the gearbox almost complete, with just the clutch and the clutch operating rod, which goes through the centre of the main axle, almost being the last parts before the gearbox can be put back on the bike. Thanks for watching.